Hi, this is John for Outstanding Poker. This is part 3 of the Back to Basics series, and this one is just going to be focusing on the basics of continuation betting. I'll briefly explain what a continuation bet is. It's basically you raise pre-flop and then your opponent checks to you, or maybe you're first to act, and then you make a bet, and that's classed as a continuation bet. And it's kind of like the bread and butter of the outstanding poker aggressive strategy, where you're going to be fairly aggressive pre-flop, and then quite a lot of the times this continuation bet is going to take down the pot, especially if you're making this bet against the correct player types and on the best board textures. So the benefits of this continuation bet are, if we hit our hand and we continuation bet for value, we're going to be building up the pot. Hopefully we're going to be getting our opponents to be calling with worse hands or folding better ones. If we miss a flop, we can continuation bet as a bluff and hope to take down the pot. And considering that we only hit a flop 35% of the time, then quite a lot of the pots contested at 6 max, especially when the ranges are wider. If you're doing this continuation bet strategy correctly, then you are going to take down a lot of pots without having hit the flop. So, the best conditions for the continuation bet bluff. I didn't think there's much point in talking about the continuation bet for value, because basically with that you just hit your hand and then you just bet it for value. It becomes more complicated when you have nothing. So I'm going to be focusing mainly on the continuation bet bluff. So it works better against fit or fold players. These are the type of players who are just playing to hit their hand, and when they hit their hand they're going to call or they're going to bet. So these are great players to attack because basically they're just going to fold an awful lot of the time, and you can kind of pick these players out by using Hold'em Manager or Poker Tracker and look for the fold to C bet stat, and if it's 60% plus, then basically they're only playing the hands that they've hit. They're only going to play the hands when they've hit the flop, basically, and maybe some draws as well. And we're going to be looking for good board textures that hits our perceived range. So when we raise pre-flop, if a board comes down with an ace or a king on it, we can continuation bet that board, because most of these players, especially at the lower limits, just put you on an ace or a king straight away and they'll be liable to fold pretty quickly. We're also looking for good board textures that misses our weak opponent's range. So there's certain board textures that's going to miss our opponent's range, but it's also going to miss our range. Against most opponents, when they have nothing, they're just going to fold, but there's going to be certain other opponents, some stronger opponents, that might actually play back at us purely because they know that it's tough for us to have hit certain board textures considering our pre-flop raising range. So you have to watch out for them. Yeah, we can also bet complete air on some board textures because people are just going to be folding so much. But it usually helps on certain board textures if we have a bit of equity like overcards or backdoor outs, so that if we do get called, then we have something to fall back on, like the chance we could hit, let's say we've continuation bet ace king on a 10-6-3 rainbow board. That should actually work an awful lot of time, really. So we can bet half pot, but if we get called, there's always a chance that on a turn we hit our ace or our king, and then we can bet again and hopefully take down a bigger pot. So it is better if we have got some a bit of equity.